Good day, good people. I am super excited to have a different type of conversation today. We are still talking about lessons for the journey, and we're also still on the subject of where it all began, but we're going to flip it a little bit. My producer, Chantel Mosley, is going to be on with me today, and she is one of the group of people who fielded some questions to find out a little bit more about this journey we call life, the metaphysical look into it, which is just really the deeper study of our whys and what happens in our reality. And so we're going to go over a few of those questions, because this is the hope that from this episode that you will start asking yourself these questions and looking for the answers. So looking deeper in you to find some of the answers to these questions. So I want you to stay with us. I want you to listen in. I want you to get your journals. I want you to write down these questions so that you can answer them for you. And then if my answers or our responses help to shift you in that direction, then we're doing the right thing. So join us today. We're going to have an exciting conversation around your lessons for the journey.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Miss Heather, for having me, not once, but twice. I appreciate it so much. And what I can say is I did construct some questions for Miss Heather to just get a deeper dive into her story, into her journey and things like that. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, what does spirituality mean to you? I know it's so broad. Everybody has their own different approach to it. But what does it mean to you?
Well, spirituality to me is really understanding that you are a three-part being. So It's not just your mental state. It's not just your physical state. It is the origin of who you are. So that spiritual part of you is the part that continues to live. It's the energy of your being. So spirituality to me is the expression of that in your everyday life.
Okay.
Your beliefs, your values, your experiences, how those things line up to really help you navigate your life. What is your why, and why are you who you are, and what makes you to respond and act in a certain way? So for me, and recognizing in the process that you are responsible, accountable to someone, and that to me that someone is God, or I call it source or spirit.
Okay, so it's like the higher power kind of entity that people use. Okay. Alrighty, so I do have some more questions. We're just going to keep them rolling.
Okay.
So I guess it's kind of answer the second question, but do you believe in a higher power or divine force? Obviously, I know you just said that you do. So
but when you think about it, so many of us have ideas that our source is so distant and so far away. When you have relationship with your source, or whether it's God or spirit, just like a parent, if you think of the relationship like a parent-child relationship, your children want to get to know you. Parents want to get to know their children. And so it's about relationship. It's not about, a genie in a bottle. You make a wish, or some of us pray.
Right.
You make a wish and you're waiting for that thing to be granted because you made the wish, or because you feel worthy or unworthy. That is not, for me, that is not how my relationship with my source operates. It is a relationship. It's conversational. It's directional. It's impactful. It's listening sometimes more than I'm talking. So those things are important to me, yes.
Now I have a question. When it comes to the come as you are type of feel, do you feel like that's more so on a spiritual basis? Like maybe where you're in your spiritual journey, or does that mean just you, however you are, just and things like that? Like how does that work with the come as you are?
So your source, just like your parent, has an idea already of who you are, right? So we're talking about the ultimate creator who created you to be in this time, in this world, in this season for a reason. So your source, you can't hide under makeup from your source, right? You can't hide under a tree. You can't hide from your source.
Yeah.
So the more of you that because you're only you're only lying to yourself.
That's
you're
true.
only hiding from yourself. Your source, or our source, already knows who you are. We already know you got on blue underwear, right? So you don't have to,
everybody else do,
right? Or if you had the same underwear on today that you had on yesterday, right? So that's the come as you are. That is being open and willing enough to understand that you can't hide.
Yeah.
But you can grow. And that's the expectation.
Okay. So I know you said that as far as like your purpose, you found that pretty young. Has that ever shifted or changed within your journey, like your purpose? Or have you just maybe grown more into it as you've done more work? Or how does that go?
Well, so I think part of our purpose work is being where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And because our steps are already divinely ordered, and that's my belief, that we're walking out the process. And so it changes because I believe myself to be a willing vessel. So it maybe one day my purpose is around, picking up trash at the park. And that's what I feel my need, I can most serve in that space. So I move as I am obedient to move and do what I need to do. And I feel that that's a part of my purpose. So part of that purpose is developing discipline. Part of that purpose is recognizing that service is always a part of it. Because those who are, how does that saying go about the highest people are often perform the lowest duties, or the lowly duties, as we may say. But, I think that's important, that you have a servant heart and a servant mindset. And as long as you do that and you're obedient, you will always be where you need to be.
Okay. I think that's a great answer. So pretty much just do what you need to do. Don't go against the grain. Don't work against things, literally. And life will be, more on the smooth sailing side for you. So
well also with that, as you develop relationship, your sense of hearing and awareness changes, because there are all kind of voices and messages that are being sent to you.
That's true.
There are all kinds of circumstances that are presented to you every day. You have to be able to hear the right voice.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people say, well, what does this sound like? Or how do I know? So I know it's just more so of you tapping into yourself and really, like you said, becoming heightened to what it sounds like, or, just to be still and really listen. So, yeah.
But you know your parents' voice. They could be in the attic. They could be outside. I know my mom, Shelly. You can hear her down the street. Now, it's a very distinct voice.
Yeah,
right.
But
you know your parents' voice when they call.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so speaking of just everything that we kind of endure on a daily basis, what are some ways that you find peace or just inner calmness or healing within just a chaotic world?
That's such a great question, and it is such
it can
a
help
great
somebody out here.
Oh, yeah.
Me included.
Right. So the first way that I would say to find your peace is really to just be centered. How do you tune out? And it's a skill. You actually develop that skill. It's not ignoring something. It is setting it to the side and being in agreement with the space that you want to occupy.
Okay.
And so, there are tools that you can use. Some people use meditation or yoga. Some people walk. Some people put on headphones and listen to meditative music or sounds or nature sounds. It's different for different people. Personally, I breathe. I have to breathe.
Okay.
And then I center my thoughts on one thing. I start with my heartbeat, just listening for my heartbeat and my pulse.
Okay.
And so I can focus and I can keep tuning in to just that sound, what it feels like, and just kind of narrow my focus so that the things around me are coming. It shifts into a priority. So I make then that priority, then my breathing follows that, and then whatever intention I need to have behind that, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's just taking a breath, whether it's just, stepping out of the bubble, that safety bubble, or stepping into that safety bubble for that quiet.
Okay. And we do think that that's something that's so small, just breathing, right? Because we do it every day unconsciously. We just do it. So when you actually take the time to breathe and ground and hydrate, because Heather, she always brings me water, and I'm just like, okay, it's water. But when I drink it, I literally feel better. And I know it's not a mind thing. Like, this the little things that we take for granted or just, subconsciously do. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. It does.
Hydrate.
So how do you perceive the connection between science and spirituality as far as like that main realm, the spiritual realm? Do you see any similarities, or is it just two different worlds?
I would say that it's layered and overlapping at times, and it depends on the person and which way is your pathway into spirit, which way is your pathway. Some people found their pathway to spirit through science, through metaphysics, through quantum physics. Like, the science is really designed to help you find the proof in things, or understand prove your ideas behind something. That's really what science is really helping us to do. And so if science can prove, for some people have arguments to disprove, if science can show that there has to be a greater source because creation started somewhere, and all of the dynamics around how we are, how we breathe, how we heal, how plants grow. I mean, it's just...
that basic understanding and knowledge.
Oh, yeah. So it kind of gives us a view into spirit, into the creation process, and the understanding that it had to be created, right? It had to be created. And so even over time and over the thousands of years that certain things are proven by analysis, or, however they're proving it in science, it's going to take us back to spirituality. It's going to take us back there. It's going to lead us back there. And even your spirituality can lead you into science, the deeper understanding of why things are, how things are. And it's designed that way.
You do mic drops every time. So how do you think that you will view, or how do you balance material things versus like the spiritual side of things? Because I know every day we have, our flesh, we have the materialistic things that we kind of hold on to. How do you balance, or is it a common balance that you can maybe reach?
I think we are creators.
Okay.
We are creators. And in our creation process, we also create and manifest things in our world. So as the things that, either things that we want or things that we need, we're supposed to create those things. We're supposed to use imagination. That's where it begins. So if you can imagine something for you, then the more you imagine and work towards that thing is for you.
Yeah, because it's not too big at that point when you put in the work for it.
That's right. We are designed to be creators.
Yeah, but it starts as a thought, like you said. So
use your imagination, then create it, and then manifest it in this world. So we're talking the thought, the word, the action or the deed, and then the action. Because I actually believe thought, word, and deed is separate from word, deed, and actions. Yeah.
So it's definitely...
It's a process, but it is because we do live in a material world, but that's because we created it. We created this world. We created the paper towel on the table, the chair we're sitting in, the mics we're using. We created that world. And so it's designed for us to use the things that we create, but not to worship, envy the things that were created. That's where we get into trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is one that can really help a lot of people, myself included. So how do you overcome doubt and maintain faith in a spiritual walk or a spiritual journey?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Actually, I was thinking about that this morning. So here's an example. It's a little bit of a cliche, but I think this is a good example. If you pray, don't worry. If you worry, don't pray.
Yeah.
Right. So it's again, if we're using our imagination to believe that something is possible or probable, right? that gives us an opening. That helps us to retool ourselves, right? So now if we have this ability, we're supposed to use that. We're supposed to use it. And we're supposed to use it not only for our own good, but the good of the world, the good of your community, the good of your family. That is, I think, a really important key that helps us stay focused, that helps us stay grounded, that brings us that peace that we need to.
Okay. Nice. Now, in regards to your particular journey, what goals or what things are you looking at seeing, maybe that you've already met in your journey or is looking to getting to in your journey?
Well, and it's so funny because, I believe that I always talk about our meridian path and backstory, right? When I was little, I was a little girl. Even when we would play games with, the people on our block, I was always the mother. So I was always the head of the family. And it didn't matter how old everybody else was. Yeah. I was always considered the mother in the game. And I took the role very seriously. I always take my role so serious. But that I did not know that role and how important the game playing family was to me. Now I can see why family restoration is so important. Yeah. It's been a part of me all of my life. So my path was pointed out to me early in my life. I just didn't see it as that. It was a game. Right? And so now that I'm in my adulthood, I'm in my purpose work. My work has to do with the restoration of family. But my journey is really around personal development for women, mothers, and grandmothers. That is really where my calling is. That was where my burning bush experience led me. And then 20 years later, because I'm 20 years in now, led me into this work. And this is what I do because I know even more now that we as women, whether our roles as mother or grandmother, we as women are the ones who are going to change what we see in the world. So that is my purpose work.
Nice. So we're going to be the one to break those curses.
We're going to be the ones to continue to break it. But if in our breaking the ceiling, right, the glass ceiling, we're being promoted, we're running for president, we have all of these amazing things that we're doing.
Yeah.
My work is in making sure the output is the balance, so that we're still dealing with and working through our deeper wounds, but the inner work that has to be done because what we're producing is unbalanced. If you're not doing that inner work, if you're not practicing your faith, if you're not in these spaces, if you're not using your imagination to create, if you're not doing those things, then your output is imbalanced.
Yes.
Because and we're wondering, okay, so all of these women are working and having families and raising children. All these women are doing all these amazing things, but why are we still having the violence? Why are we still having the illness? Why haven't we healed cancer? Why are women still dying at childbirth? This is an imbalance.
Yes.
But if you look at it, we're putting so much out in the world, and it's good that we're putting out, but you can only put out what you have in you.
Ooh, that's good.
Right? You can't put out healing if healing is not in you.
Yeah, especially if you're not being poured back into. So
right.
I feel like that's a great point. So speaking of that, how do you deal with forgiveness when it comes to on a spiritual level? Because I know, we are God-like and we're supposed to forgive and things like that, but I know sometimes it's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any advice for that, or?
So the first realization that I would like people to know in terms of forgiveness is that the forgiveness is not about the other person. The forgiveness is for you. That's for us.
Yeah.
We think that we're forgiving somebody for what they've done. You're not. You're forgiving yourself.
Yeah, for your closure.
Right. And because you're the one that's in pain, that person has gone off for the rest of their lives doing what they do.
Yeah.
You're the one that's still harmed by the memory of it. You're the one that's still affected by that. Yeah. And plotting, I'm going to get somebody back. Right?
I was just going to ask, do you feel like people maybe not, voicing that or not forgiving is their way of making the other person hurt or feel what they feel?
So what the other part of that we miss is that karma, it's a law.
Yeah.
So it's going to come, and I'm a witness because my stuff came back to bite me, haunt me.
Yeah, and it may not be in the same way and or capacity.
That's right. That's right. But it's going to take care of itself. It's going to take care of itself. And so if you believe that you have a higher power or a source, and you believe in karma or universal cosmic law, that is law. And that law is higher than man's law. It doesn't mean that somebody's going to come and pull them off in handcuffs. It doesn't mean that it won't happen. But we all have our own karma. And so the more you're rooting for somebody else to get theirs, that is coming back. You putting that same rah-rah on your own karma coming back to bite you. So grace, give yourself grace, and give people grace, especially when it comes to your parents and mistakes or missteps that parents have made in raising us as children. They did not have the tools or the knowledge all of those years ago.
That's true.
And we expect people to have had that knowledge or insight or level of competence even in parenting.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
And they were still learning and growing too. What I can say is, as I became older, I definitely don't look at things with the same mindset I did before. I'm like, oh, my mom was just trying. She was just doing the best she could.
What you have.
But what she had, exactly. I didn't look at it because, as your parent, you look at them, you think they can do everything.
Yeah.
And when you grow older, you're like, oh, I see it from a different lens now. She was human. She was a person. She had to, at one point, give up her likes and things like that to be able to take care and raise me. So really just gaining that understanding, it makes a difference on how you view things. So
it does. It does.
So with spirituality and health, do you feel like those two correlate? Do you feel like your health can be cured with more of a holistic approach, or?
Yeah, absolutely. There is an interconnection. So our bodies, I like this example, and this was how I explained death to my son. If you look at the human person, the body as a car, right? When you get in the car, you animate the car. So you tell it to turn. You tell it to start. You turn the key in the ignition or push button for all the modern people. But you turn the car on, and when you get in it, so the spirit in the body, the person in the car, I liken that to the same thing. So when the person is no longer in the car, it no longer moves. It doesn't respond. It doesn't work. And so that's how I explained death to my son.
That's a great analogy.
So he's like, well, because I was explaining to him that our body is inhabited by our spirit. And that is what keeps it alive. When the spirit is no longer in the body, we consider that body being dead. Right? And so that it just means that you've moved from this space, which is the vehicle, into another space. We don't know yet what that other space is. We just know it's no longer in the vehicle. But because it's spirit and spirit is energy, we know that there is no end to spirit or energy.
Okay, I like that analogy, and I feel like that's a pretty, concrete way of being able to understand the true meaning of what it is and what happens, during that process. So,
and the other part of that is that we participate in our own health and wellness, but also by what we put in our bodies. Not just the food, but the thoughts.
Yes.
And the words that we use. You can say, I'm so sick and tired of this person on my last nerve. The more we say that, guess what? Your nerves are bad.
Yes.
Right? I mean, all of the things that we speak over our bodies, it is being absorbed by the body. So we have to be mindful about what we say and how we say it. We have to speak life and even into ourselves.
Yes.
That's why the whole movement around affirmations has become so important. The whole movement around the law of attraction has become so important because we're seeing the impact on the body, the health of the body, the wellness of the body, and that forgiveness piece that we were talking about also impacts the wellness of the body, because you can only put so much pressure, stress on the body before it responds. But let me say this too, which I think is an important insight, that pain is an indicator of something deeper. It's something deeper. So because we didn't get the sign, we didn't pay attention to the signs, or we may have brushed it off, and now it's so critical that you have to do something.
Okay.
You have to go to the doctor. You have to, get some medicine. But that's still not repairing. That's still not repairing what's really wrong. We have to look, because we're spiritual beings and we're physical beings. So if it's physical, it's going to have to be spiritual. If it's spiritual, it's going to also play out physically in our body. So we have to be aware that when we have illness, and sometimes it points to exactly what it is.
What the problem is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the back pain, right?
Yes.
Are you stabbing somebody in the back? Are you moving backwards? Are you backed into a corner? Like, it's your back, so you got to pay attention to the things that are related to backsliding, all of those types of things is pointing to something for you. That's the first place I would look.
The bigger picture.
With back pain, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
My backstory, my history, like what am I missing or not paying attention to? That is so important that I'm experiencing pain. So I think that's important to know when we're talking about physical and spiritual health.
Yeah. So with spirituality, I know everybody typically looks at the brighter side of things, but what is your perspective, or how do you view the relationship between suffering and spiritual growth?
So I know one of the fruit of the spirit is long suffering, right? But that's also your ability to share the burden, if you will.
Okay.
And so with your source. Source, right?
That's important. With the source,
that's
not
important.
Others.
That's important, because you can be sympathetic, you can be empathetic, but only your source truly knows the source of your pain.
That's true.
Right. And so that relationship, that's where that relationship gets even more important. And also understanding the law, that there is a time, there's a reason, there's a season for all things.
Yes.
And I think that's Ecclesiastes too. But it talks about the season. There's a time for this. There's a time for that. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to cry. Like that particular scripture, I think, is really important. And it really helps people to understand that it won't be this way always. It won't be this way always. So that might be, you may be high, at some point, but you could also experience lows. So you have to be mindful to be aware in the process of both. I think that's really important perspective to have.
Nice. I love how you answer the questions. Literally.
Thank you.
No problem. So I know you've been, doing this for a very, very long time. In regards to just being a life coach, just, speaking life into people. Was this something that was done to you maybe at a young age? I know you said that you took the role of mothering and kind of being that mother role and figure to other people, but was that something that was just more so kind of given to you or instilled in you, just to coach or to guide, to lead outside of the parenting aspect? And I've been this way all my life. Okay. What has been added to me is wisdom and experience. Okay. And so in those areas of where I gain wisdom and experience, I've had a lot of jobs. I got a lot of experience. I laugh when I think about how many jobs I have actually had. So I'm somewhere around 90 something jobs. Yeah, around 90 something jobs that I can actually highlight, and I feel like it's growing. There might be more. Right. It's probably more. But each one of those experiences, I took the lessons and I looked for those lessons. Okay. So, for example, I've worked with people from birth, so 3 months, as a director of a child care center. And I made it my business to understand the roles at each level. Like from 3 months old in the child care learning center that I was director, my role was to understand and make sure the operations were running smoothly. It also, for me personally, it was to understand what was happening in each room. So each room had its own curriculum. So the babies at 3 months had a curriculum that they had to follow. Okay. So it was work that was being put in for their growth and development at every age. And so again, I've worked with elders. I had a mentor who was 94. Wow. She was amazing. So much wisdom. Oh my gosh. She worked for
Last name Bethune. I can't think of her first name. That's a shame. Anyway, she worked directly with her. She was a violinist, and she played in World War II. She played like in the where they had not the Salvation Army, but I forget what that's called. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so she played with the performers that traveled overseas and entertained the troops and things like that. Like, she met her husband that way, one of her husbands. But to have that kind of experience, I never knew I would be a mentor to someone who was 3 times my age.
Yeah.
And she kept calling me her mentor. And I was like, how can I be your mentor? She said, you taught me this, you taught me that, you helped me think through this. And I was like, oh, okay.
And we probably don't even realize it.
No, but I mean, all of us have it in us. That's how we're designed.
Yeah.
That's how we're communicating. That's how we're sharing our life lessons and wisdom and experience. We do that amongst friends. So,
that's true.
So I got additional training and certifications in multiple areas so that I could do what I was doing with a little more knowledge, not just the wisdom and experience. So I needed the knowledge behind that. I also needed certifications to make sure that the processes that I was applying were actually helpful and not harmful. So just to give that extra structure. So, but all of my life lessons have helped me to get to where I am because I'm not unique. This is what we all are supposed to do.
Yeah.
You may not have a title for a coach.
Right.
But that's what we do. We support and love and nurture one another.
Yeah.
That's embedded in us. That's our servant leadership. That's all of that. That's embedded in us. So we all have that. Some of us have just taken it the next step further and have are established in doing this type of support work.
Okay. So speaking of those life lessons that you've learned kind of throughout your journey, is there any spiritual texts, teachings that influence you? Any methods that influence you?
Ooh, okay. So I've gone through quite a few initiations.
Okay.
That's one. And so the process of going through initiations, so both physical, spiritual, mental initiations, the objective is to impart kind of your reasons why and the reasons behind what you do, your motivation to understand that and to make sure that those things are in right standing, so that what you pour back out, these are things in initiation is you're being poured into. So when you emerge in your completion of that initiation, you're pouring back out into the world something that's been tested, something that's been prayed over, something that's been time tested, that's been honored, and that was intentional. And so we need those types of initiations to help grow us and also to help us kind of determine what direction do we go. And it doesn't leave you just kind of dangling out there. It gives you some sense of purpose, and which I think is, also important in this process, because the life lessons that we gain every day are value. It's like putting money in the bank.
Yeah.
Our lessons are money in the bank.
Up. Yeah.
Yes, and get there. Your interest on your investments.
Yeah.
Mary McLeod Bethune is her name.
Okay.
She worked directly as her personal assistant.
Nice.
Right. So that's
that's a big deal.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely a big deal. So with you being a coach and having to kind of take on a lot of people's emotions, stories, and things like that, how do maybe you decompress at the end of the day, or how do you make that difference on, just staying grounded or just not really letting your emotions kind of carry over?
Yes, that's an amazing question. Yes. and people say, if this is business, it's not personal. It's personal to me. I don't, what I might say as opposed to it being personal and not business is that's not my stuff. Right? So it's personal to me. It's personal to me because I want people to be well, and I'm sharing this space with you, and I'm sharing this part of your journey with you. It matters to me what happens to people.
Yeah.
It matters to me that they're going through. So it's very personal. Right? But I recognize that this is not my stuff, and this is not my journey to live. Your journey, your experience is your journey and your experience. What I'm here to do is help guide, navigate, impart wisdom, impart experience, give you a sounding board, and tell you, because this is in my gift, tell you what I'm hearing. And it's only going to confirm what is already in you. It's not really new information.
Exactly.
It's mostly confirming what's already in you and giving you and being able to replay it to you in a way that you can hear it and you can use it and you can apply it. That's my role.
Nice. Now, I do have a question in regards to love. I do hear that a lot when you speak of spirituality. So how do you define love? And then what's a significance that you feel as though when it relates to spirituality?
So there are a couple of measures I would say that I use. So first is, one is 1 Corinthians. I think that's an important understanding and distinction. It was so funny because my son had a completion ceremony yesterday, and one of the staff talked about where it speaks to when I was a child. I lived as a child. I thought as a child. I acted as a child. But when I became an adult, I put away childish things, right? And so I think that's such a huge part of understanding that you have to separate, that you have to grow and allow yourself to grow and mature. And I do want to also say, because I didn't say this part too for the other question, that I do a cleansing. I do a physical cleansing. I do a spiritual cleansing. I do a regrounding. And so that I don't continue, I don't wear the things that clients are bringing to me to help them navigate.
Right. Do you recommend spiritual baths, or do you think that you should more so get a little bit more insight before going along those lines?
So I think it's a practice we all need, because we all have that same, I want to call it residue, but I can't think of a better word right now. But we all have the same kind of residue or energy or spirit that travels with us, that we exchange from other people, whether we exchange that intimately, whether we exchange that physically because we're in the same space. We share that energy. So you have to have a way to cleanse. And so you can use spiritual tools. So salt is a spiritual tool. The essential oils is a spiritual tool. Grounding, like really grounding in nature, putting your feet in the grass or in the dirt. That's one of the practices that people who garden, that's one of the natural benefits they get, because their hands and their feet and their bodies are already in the soil. So that's another way to ground and cleanse. And cleansing is intentional. When you take a bath or a shower, if you do that every day, you have to be mindful that the water is spiritual, right? So when you take a shower, you take a bath, you have to pour out the things that no longer belong to you. That's not your stuff, but also that no longer belong to you. So when you're taking your shower in the morning or you're taking your shower in the evening, you have to clean your intentions and your thoughts too. So because water is a spiritual tool. We are born in water, right? So, and water holds affirmation, whether it's negative or positive. Water doesn't have any judgment on it, but it will hold that affirmation. So being mindful to cleanse with water, if that's your tool. I use salts, different types of salts. Maybe they're bath salts, salts that have intention on them, that have been rooted for this purpose. I use a lot of those tools. I use crystals. And most of all, I allow the lesson for that day, or the things that highlighted my day, to pass through me at the end of the day. Yeah. I release them at the end of the day. I journal. I release it to the pen, so those are different things I use.
Different ways to release.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of intention, so do you believe more so in the power of prayer, or do you believe more so in intention setting?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because for the way we started off, right? If you pray, don't worry. If you worry, don't pray. So we have to be mindful that you can keep praying for something, You're not really manifesting it, because if you prayed for it, you got to believe for it. And that's where you have to put the exclamation mark.
That's true.
Behind the prayer the thing that you ask for, you believe for, you have to hold the belief, not the prayer.
That's true. So is that putting in the work at any point of that process, or is that just you believing that what's for you was going to be for you?
It is what's for me is going to be for me, but I have to go through the process to get it.
Okay.
I have to still manifest that thing. I can't sit down, on the porch and wait for my new car to be, pull up in the driveway.
Beep, beep.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but that means that I have to be able to get insurance. I have to be able to. So if you're not doing the thing to support your prayer, it's what to say, a clanging cymbal. Yeah, it's nothing. It's no power behind it. If your intention is not in it, there's no power behind it.
Now, what role or part has your own intuition played in your journey?
I mean, it's everything for me. It's everything for me because I have right relationship with my source. That's one. But I also know I was gifted, as we all are, right? Some of us have more melanin to help us to build that intuition. Yeah. But it still goes behind the intention. What's the intention behind it? What is the gain, not just for you, but for your family, for your community or your village? What's the gain for us as a world? Because we believe that we're separated. We're only physically separated by what we see. We're not separated energetically. All of us are on the earth together in the same atmosphere, breathing the same air, drinking the same water. We're all in the same place.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's why some of our ideas and things align. So, because we are connected.
We are deeply connected, more so than we ever admit or can imagine.
Now, I do have another question. So we're going to get into more of the vision side. So what is the significance of dreams or visions in your spiritual beliefs? Because I know some things come to people in more than one ways, but has dreams or visions been a significant part in your journey?
Absolutely, both dreams and vision. So one of my gifts is to be able to interpret dreams, not just my own. It takes me longer to do my own, except for the things that are really obvious. But I still write them down. That's the first step I would encourage anybody to do, is write it down. As soon as you wake up and you've had one of those dreams, awakening dreams, write it down, so that you can go back and look at it, because we're designed over time to be able to not necessarily remember. Just like in childbirth, a lot of women don't remember. They know they were in pain. They know it was painful, but they don't actually remember the exact pain. And just like any time that we go through a trauma, we remember that we went through it, but the exact pain, you don't necessarily remember the exact pain, the exact way. Now, you can recall some things, but I think that's an important distinction. So with our dreams and our vision, it's because they have a purpose. They have a purpose. It's not just to to get you in a deep REM sleep. But it's so that you can hear what you can't hear in your waking
subconsciously.
state. Yes. It allows you to hear. It allows you to plan. It allows you to use your imagination. It allows you to dream in a way. And some people don't remember their dreams.
That's true.
And that's okay, because if you don't remember your dreams, then you probably have strong visions. Because it's going to be communicated through one way or the other. Or when you watch a movie, something resonates with you in the movie, and that's what you respond to. So you're responding to somebody else's creation, somebody else's imagination, but it could be that message that you didn't get in the dream state, or you didn't get in your vision
that you're now getting in another capacity.
It's going to come to you.
Yeah, because I'll be watching movies all the time, and I'll be like, how do they know what I'm going through? So and it'll make me like the movie even more, because I can resonate with it. So. Right. So how are we looking in as far as time goes when it comes to on the physical realm and then on the spiritual realm as far as time?
So I believe that one, time is a construct. And this construct is what we decided that we would believe in. We believe in Eastern Standard Time in Detroit. And right now in Detroit is, this time. And another part of the world is that time.
Right.
We had to agree to that. Just like we have to agree to language. We have to agree to letters. We have to agree to color. We agree to these things. So there are people who are colorblind. They're colorblind, so they don't see color, but they have to associate a tree with being what we call green, even though they may not know what green is. Green is going to be what you have imagined it to be and agree that it is. So if I see a tree, automatically I know it's green, whatever green is too.
Right.
And green for me could be blue, but it's still my green. So we have to agree about time while we're experiencing, I believe, time and the time that we're in. And I believe time is also based on a tribe.
Okay.
So somebody who may feel like I feel like today feels like Friday to me.
Really?
Today feels like Friday to me. And so there's somebody out there who also feels like it's Friday.
Yeah.
It feels like it's Friday around 5 o'clock to me, actually.
He's like, let's wrap it up.
Right. So it may be somebody out there who is that's in my tribe or my energy center who is feeling the same time and feeling the same day. And so I believe first that it's a construct that we agree to, but secondly that we have an internal time. We use the phrase all the time about your biological clock is ticking. When we say that, we're talking about your timing in terms of getting married and raising a family or that anxiousness that you have, like time is moving fast, which it is.
Yes, it is.
It's
moving so fast.
Right, because I jumped to 55 and I don't know, I bypassed some years.
Yeah,
it seems
like nobody warned me or nothing.
Right, because I do feel younger than I am. And
you look beautiful. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, I believe it's first a construct, but I also believe that it is that energetic flow, which is the spirit level of it. That it's this energetic flow of a time that we're in together. And I think that time is where people who share that sense of time are together.
So how do you know that you're going through a transformation or a spiritual awakening? I know we go through a lot of retrogrades. I know people are just transitioning. They may not know what it is. So what are maybe some key things to look out for when it comes to awakening and or transitioning?
Oh, that's great. So if you look at your life and your journey as chapters in a story or chapters in a book, you kind of know when you have come to the end of a chapter. It could be that you graduated from high school. It could be that you finished something that has been a long-standing journey or a long-standing experience or even a relationship. Those are some of the ways that we kind of gauge when something has come to an end or a season has come to an end. We look at nature. We are looking at the fall. You see the leaves right now are already changing. We come to the end of a season. So they're indicators, and some people follow that cycle of seasons. And like a lot of people have talked or spoke to that in the wintertime is the worst time for them because they feel depressed because of the limited sunlight that's there, the snow, for at least for us in Michigan. Like all of these things are areas that people feel strongly about that are their lowest point in their season. But when that season is over in spring, people spring up and spring out. And so they are in a different season. They're more vibrant. They're outside a lot more, like going into from spring into summer. People are vibrant as the season is. And so I think that's how we kind of indicate where we are in our chapters and where we are on our journey is when we come to a close. And once you come to a close, you know that it has to be a new beginning. And so we're looking into that new beginning and acting accordingly.
Okay. So how do you deal with attaching yourself to something and then detaching?
Oh, that detaching. Yeah. So
it's not the easiest.
No. And I have to, I'm in this process of detaching right now. And I have to keep telling myself, detach. But it's mostly detaching myself from old ideas, old expectations. Like, and I know that this is part of, I'm still learning and growing this way. But even in my friendships when I was a teenager, it was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to detach my emotions from the things that were going on with my friends.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even my stuff, but because you were my friend, I had a certain expectation of what
I had
our
to carry
friendship.
that. Yeah.
And that was one of my expectations, that if you were in pain, I'm in pain. If you hurt, I'm hurt. Like, I really had that expectation, but that did not mean that was mutual. And that's where I had to learn a lesson, because of how I define friendships. It doesn't mean that the other person defines it the same way. So I have to detach from old ideas, old expectations. And because I'm only disappointing myself. They can't disappoint you if you didn't already have that expectation. That's why we get disappointed. That's how we get hurt. True. Because we didn't communicate those things, or we didn't support the other person's ability to carry out that thing that's needed. That they need to be on the same level in the same relationship, and communicate that out loud for understanding. We may say something, like I might have said some things in passing that, okay, well, and like I said, your pain is my pain. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's cool. That was cute. Yeah. Right. But I meant that.
Exactly. And it might not have been the same for everybody.
Right.
So.
Not the same expectations. So being able to detach from those things, the things that no longer serve you, is part of the wisdom of the journey. It's part of the process. So in those areas, whether it's relationships or friendships, even work, people get so connected and and we get validated by the work that we do.
That's true.
If you're terminated or a company closes, you take that thing in, and it's personal.
Yes.
Right. And so it's, well, maybe I'm the one that's closed. Maybe I'm the one that's,
Yeah.
And we internalize that thing. So we have to detach from some of the things that are happening around us.
That is true. Okay. Well, we have a few minutes left, but but I do definitely want to ask you, as far as your journey, what are you currently working on, or what is the next step for you in your journey?
Oh, thank you. So I have a couple of different roles that I play. So one role is I'm the executive director of an organization called Encourage Me I'm Young, or Emmy for short. We have our fall program coming up. Our fall program starts September the 8th. And of course, that is a recruitment process for boys that are 8 to 24. Although we serve boys 3 to 24, our mentoring program is specific for boys 8 to 24. So that's coming up. And anybody that wants to register who has a boy who needs mentoring, who needs that level of support, and to help them get out of the addictions of video games and cell phones, and pull them out of the box that they're in their rooms. Typically, we need to have some more tools and strategies and the places for them to go. So that's one of the projects that I have. Another one that I'm excited about is our Women's Summit, which is coming up October, which is Women's Health Month.
Great month.
So October the 12th is our Women's Summit, and the tickets are on sale now. And you can purchase those tickets on my website, which is journey.com. Yourinspiredjourney.com, under upcoming events, and you go and register. Also, every month we do free seminars for women. Yes. And they're amazing.
I've been to some personally, and they're very beneficial. So I would recommend anybody to go.
Thank you. Absolutely. And we tried to move barriers. So it's on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. It's on an early Saturday, so you have time in your schedule to still enjoy your day.
Yes.
They're free, and I don't use the word free lightly. But they're available, and they're centrally located. So it shouldn't be any barriers to you doing your self-work. We talked about that balance that women are being raised in right now. Bring the balance, because if you're not doing your self-work, you're doing good work, but you're only pouring off half of your potential. So
that is true.
Yeah. So those are two of the things I'm working on. I have book projects. I have I have probably another 10 books that I really would like to release this year. I have 10 books. That's my commitment to myself.
Nice.
Is to release 10 books a year. They're all on backlog right now.
Ready to go in progress.
Oh, so there's lots of work in progress.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Though.
Right. Right. So but they're all my lessons for the journey. Yes. So a lot of it is reflective. A lot of it is action oriented too. So, and then I'm looking forward to my, is this 5 years or 6? Wedding anniversary in November.
Oh.
Yeah, I have my
cute.
Right.
And speaking of, we are going to have Emmy coming up after this as far as a podcast on Podcastic. So make sure you tune in with them. We are going to have a guest, which is going to be Bert Johnson. So make sure you tap in with Dr. Calvin Mann and Dr. Hetheru Miller Mann. And they will be bringing that to you at 4 o'clock. So
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining me this side of the camera today.
Thank you for having me, not only as your producer, but also a guest. It has been amazing to be on. I just want to thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope that you continue to go and grow in your journey.
Thank you. And those who are listening as well. We got to do this. We're called to this time. So let's go.
Yes. Well, until next time, Miss Heather.
Thank you all. Stay clear.
Yes. Have a great day.